Do you want to be one of the best players in Apex Legends? Well, I've compiled 100 legend tips. And yes, there are multiple tips for every legend currently in the game. Without wasting any time, starting off with Bangalore. Bang's double time passive only works when you are sprinting. This means that if you're strafing left and right or aiming down sights, it will never activate double time. Controller players have no aim assist through your smoke. So if you're on mouse and keyboard, Bangalore's smoke is a huge counter to all the aim assist abusers. It's super important you know how Bangalore's ult works. When you throw it down, it launches missiles starting from where the flare is, to roughly 55 meters away from it. So make sure you throw your ult in front of your enemies instead of directly on them. Whenever possible, prioritize smoking off your enemies instead of smoking yourself. Yes, both options will obstruct your enemy's vision, but the problem with smoking yourself is that you can no longer see anything and it's hard to make any real play work if you're stuck in a smoke. With Fuse, there's a completely overpowered trick you can use with his Motherload ultimate. First, call in an evac tower, then aim and shoot the ult at the top of the tower. This will cause the Motherload to spread and create a large ring, and you will have wall hacks on any enemies caught within this ring. I'd be really surprised if you knew this next little bit of Fuse knowledge. The further away you are from your enemy, the stronger the sticking magnetism is for your knuckle clusters. Or in other words, the further you are, the easier it is to stick your opponent. And that's why it seems so much easier to attach knuckle clusters, but sticking someone with an arc star from far away feels almost impossible. Whenever you have grenades, toggle your throw power. This will let you throw sky nades, which is much better in most situations than launching them straight at your enemy. Use your knuckle cluster to mask the audio of your other action. For example, if you're about to revive your teammate or pop his shield battery, throw your knuckle cluster somewhere nearby first, and then since it is so loud, the other squads won't be able to hear what you were doing. For Ashe, I love this next little tip for helping me escape from my enemies with her ultimate. If you place your phase breach on top of a supply bin, and then you open up the supply bin, the portal will be destroyed and nobody can use it to follow you. But that trick only ever works if you have an unopened supply bin nearby. If you are out of luck, take your phase breach as normal, and then throw your snare at the end so anyone chasing you gets stuck in its grass. You can hold an arc star and an arc snare at the same time. Then when you find your victim, throw both at their feet and they'll take a damage from the arc star without being able to escape. Unlike Wraith's portal, you can't take Ashe's phase breach both ways. So make sure that you always have an escape plan prior to using your ultimate. With Maggie, you should almost always be running around with your shotgun out. You run the exact same speed while holding a shotgun as you do when you're holstering your weapon. So you may as well have your shotgun out and ready in case someone gets a jump on you. You can shoot out your riot drill simultaneously with a throwable to deal a ton of damage really quick. And it can get you some nice kills. If you find someone holding a door, kick it once and then shoot your drill at it. The door will break and the drill will break off with it, leaving you with an easy shotgun kill after. Just like Fuse, Maggie's abilities are very, very loud. Use them to cover the audio and distract the enemies so you can heal or revive a teammate. When you are Ballistic, you need to be using a close range weapon as your sling weapon. And this is because with the increased movement speed, if you're using something like an SMG or the Wingman, your movement speed is going to be so fast that enemies will have a very difficult time aiming at you. You don't need to always shoot your whistler at your enemy. I know it sounds weird, but oftentimes I recommend using it as a zoning tool to stop enemies from pushing you. Please stop going out of your way to aim your whistler before shooting at your enemy. You can use your whistler while both aiming and shooting. This will help you maximize your damage output. Before you ever use your ultimate as Ballistic, always make sure you are near your teammate, as they will also get the faster reloads, the faster movement speed, and infinite ammo. With Pathfinder, if you want to make a quick rotation around the map, this trick is for you. Attach your zipline to the top of a jump tower. Take it, and then right before you reach the end, jump off and take the jump tower. But unfortunately, this doesn't work on evac towers. If you keep your camera looking at where you attached your grapple, and then use your movement keys to move around it, you can stay attached for much longer. And it causes your enemies to miss all their shots. If you want to quickly cancel your grapple, all you have to do is hit the crouch button. Super simple, but a useful trick. Learn how to super jump with Pathy's zipline. It's not too difficult to do. All you need to do is make sure you are standing on the ground, hit your interact button, then quickly double tap your jump button. And this will cause you to get launched into the sky. For Wraith, you can do the same trick as Ashe to destroy your portal. Just place one of the ends on top of a supply bin, open it up, and then it will disappear. It's the perfect tip if you want to prevent enemies from chasing you. You can cancel your tactical by wall jumping before you go into the void. It confuses the enemies and they wouldn't be expecting you to start shooting back again. Wraith has a very small hitbox, so use that to your advantage by getting up close to your enemies and using movement tech. If you're creating a portal and you think enemies might be chasing you down, walk backwards after placing the portal. If enemies take it, they'll be facing the wrong direction and it should be an easy elimination for you. Place an Octane launch pad at the end of a zipline. This will cause enemies to go flying and you can get some easy kills. Whenever you are popping a medkit, stim right before the medkit is finished, and you will essentially get a free stim. And don't worry, you can't knock yourself by stimming to 0 health. But don't forget that using your stim will allow you to build up a lot of momentum. And it is crucial that you learn how to bunny hop well to carry that momentum in a fight. If you don't already know how to b hop or bunny hop, it's simple. Just sprint, jump, hold crouch, and then jump every time you hit the ground. Now this next tip is a bit of a clarification for a common misconception with Octane. The stim does not change the speed or the distance you go on a launch pad. Yeah, it's the exact same if you have stim or no stim. With Revenant, you want to be forcing close range 1v1s with your ultimate. It gives you a bonus 75 overshield, which is quite a bit, and if you're close in skill level to your enemy, it should be an easy elimination. Only use your shadow pounce horizontally. If you use it straight up, it is very slow and it doesn't take you far, compared to using it horizontally where you get launched to wherever you were going. Really try to take advantage of Rev's extended climbing capabilities and climb up to places enemies aren't expecting you to be. Typically, when you're using your tactical, your weapon is put away and you can't shoot anyone, and this really sucks. But you can pull out your weapon instantly by edge sliding at the same time as you use your tac. The timing takes a bit to get used to, but it's definitely worth practicing. As Horizon, there are so many different tricks you can take advantage of. Use your gravity lift to protect you against throwables, because when they are thrown at the lift, they get launched into the sky and away from you. This also works with a lot of the legend abilities in game. Use the black hole ultimate to break doors. What I recommend doing is not throwing it directly at a door, but instead throw it off to the side so you can easily run through it. If an enemy is hiding behind cover, instead of running towards them and leaving yourself vulnerable out in the open, throw your gravity lift at them and it will lift them up out of their cover. My personal favorite part of Horizon's kit is her spacewalk passive, and using it you can do some crazy movement. Something I recommend is bunny hopping out of a standstill. To do this, you have to have auto sprint on, then take a step forward to start the sprint, then jump up and start bunny hopping in whatever direction you want. It's fairly simple, but your enemies will find it much harder to shoot you. And one of my personal favorite legends, Valkyrie. Try to never fly out in the open as it leaves you an easy target. But there is one exception, and that's if you're stuck in the open and need to survive a little bit longer. What you want to do is fly directly above your enemy. This will make it much harder for them to shoot you, since aiming straight up is very difficult. Go into your settings and make sure you have jetpack control set to hold and not toggle. This will give you a lot more control over your jetpack. This next tip goes for Valkyrie herself and her teammate. If you have a skydiving emote, don't use it until you start getting shot at. Most of them have some crazy animations and it will make you almost impossible to hit. You can shoot your missile swarm over cover. So normally if you use your tactical while you are against cover, then it will end up hitting you. But if you look at the ground and then use your tactical, the missile swarms will go over the cover and hopefully land on your enemy. With Alter, you can use the Void Passage after getting stuck with an arc star to avoid taking any damage. If you don't have a throwable, you can use your Void Passage tactical to break into these little loot things around King's Canyon. You can hold down your tactical input to see a preview of where the exit will be. This is really important so you don't end up teleporting right in front of the enemy or even off the map. You can kidnap enemies by placing a portal beside them or underneath them. This will catch them off guard and leads to easy elimination. As Bloodhound, you never need to run up to White Ravens to use them. Yeah, you can actually just scan them instead and it will do the same thing. Don't worry, it will also instantly recharge your scan so you don't need to wait for the cooldown. Close range weapons reign supreme as Bloodhound. His ultimate gives him increased movement speed, and in close range fights, it will be very hard for enemies to track you. Don't hesitate to use your ultimate to run away from a bad situation. Trust me, it is not a waste. It's better to use it, get no kills but stay alive, than to die without using it and then get sent back to the lobby. Most of the time, if I find enemy footsteps on the ground, I do not scan. All the scan will do is alert the enemies of your position, so instead, I like to play slow to see if I can get a quick knock when they aren't expecting it. I absolutely love using this next tip for crypto. Fly your drone against a glass window. It will scan the enemies like normal, except now they won't be able to shoot and destroy it. Your weapons will automatically reload while you're in the drone. Sort of like a gold extended mag. Look at these banner things around the map in your drone, and it will show you exactly how many squads are nearby. And remember to ping it so your team can know as well. When your teammates die, play safe, and then go and retrieve their banners with your drone. You can also use your drone to respawn them, so you should almost never be out in the open as crypto. Now on to Seer. Look at your minimap while you're holding out the heartbeat sensor. This will help you see exactly what you are sensing and how far it reaches. After wiping a team, instead of immediately looting like everybody else, open up your heartbeat sensor and spin it in a circle to see if there's any third parties nearby. Even better, if you have your ultimate and there is likely another team pushing you, throw it down somewhere safe. Even if you can't capitalize off it and get killed, it will likely scare enemies away and buy your team some time to heal up. As Vantage, before taking a fight, I almost always like to put Echo up into the sky somewhere beforehand, and doing this will allow me to quickly escape if things start to look bad. But do keep in mind, enemies can see Echo, so if you're trying to surprise them, then it might be worth keeping it hidden until it's needed. Use your Echo relocate to close the distance between you and your enemy to catch them off guard. I especially like doing this when I know they are low health or popping shield. Similar to Pathfinder grapple, you can instantly go down when using Echo by hitting your crouch button. With Gibraltar, this next tip is pretty simple. Use shotguns. Gibraltar shines in close range shotgun fights by using his dome shield and his gun shield. And on top of that, he also has the fortified passive, which reduces his incoming damage by 15%. All of this making him the king of close range shotguns. shotgunning. When you're using his dome shield, you need to be very careful and follow this next tip. When throwing his dome shield on a hill, the lower side won't be covered. This can for sure get you eliminated. But you can also use it to your advantage by shooting your enemies when they think that you can. You can use Gibraltar's dome shield to block off the effect of some legend abilities. For instance, you can block the suck from Horizon's black hole, or you can even block off Caustic's gas as long as the source of the gas comes from somewhere outside of the bubble. Use Gibby or Jibby or however you pronounce his name, use his dome shield on a knocked player. Then you can either finish the down player safely, or if it's your teammate, start reviving them to bait enemies into pushing you. Now on to Lifeline, everybody's favorite medic legend. I've noticed that most players play scared when they're on Lifeline, but you should be playing aggressive as she has a very small hitbox and helps you win your close range 1v1s. Lifeline lacks any sort of movement ability, but at least you can use your ultimate as cover when you're stuck in open areas. You can even use your ult to climb up to places that you wouldn't be able to reach without it, but in close range fights, use your drone as cover. A lot of people don't think about using it this way, however, it works surprisingly well. Always be on the lookout for ultimate accelerants. The faster you can get your team looted up, the better your chance of winning the game. With Mirage, send your decoys into buildings when you don't know where the enemies are. It will provide you with a little marker of where they are if they shoot at the decoy. Sort of like a budget wall hack. Mirage's ultimate can be difficult to get value with. One method of using the ult that works at buying time and confusing the enemies is to run in circles. It'll be hard for anyone to pinpoint the real Mirage, and if your team is nearby, it should help distract the enemies for them. Most Mirage players panic ult when they are low health, but I suggest saving your ultimate until after you are done healing. Decoys don't do the healing animation, so it leaves you as the obvious target. Don't underestimate Mirage's ability to get a revive off in the middle of the open. The invisibility you get is underrated, especially if there are other distracting things going on nearby. Okay, this Loba trick I have makes her ultimate much better, and you can use it to find more than just 2 items with her black market. All you have to do is ping the item that you want, leave the black market, and then hold your ping input on that item. Then it will show you a white line that points directly towards the item. Follow it and pick up that precious loot. Use Loba's bracelet through barred off windows. This is a great way to escape from enemies without them chasing you. In the late game, you might not need any more loot from the black market. The other way I like to use it is to place it in front of a door, and then the enemies won't be able to open it. You can also use the black market to steal items from the vaults on Olympus and World's Edge. However, you can only take one, as soon as you take it, the black market will be destroyed and an alarm will go off. Whenever you're playing Newcastle, getting your shield to turn around can be tricky, but there is a method you can use to do it consistently. All you need to do is get between the shield and the projector thing, then ping away from you in the direction you want the shield to rotate, and this will make turning the shield much easier. You probably know that when you're reviving your team, the strength of the shield you hold up is the same as the knockdown shield you have, so you should always be asking your teammates to trade knockdown shields with you, at least if they have one that's better than yours. Prioritize using shotguns with Newcastle. Then use your mobile shield to close the distance between you and your enemies so that enemies are forced to play up into your shotgun. But Newcastle tactical won't be that great if you're playing out in the open, as it can quickly be shot down if multiple enemies are looking at you. I recommend not completely relying on your shield, but instead using it to bridge the distance between cover. Now onto Conduit. Make sure whenever you're shielding your teammates, let them know by using your mic. Most players aren't used to playing with a Conduit and they don't notice when they're getting shielded, so if you don't let them know, they might just end up sitting in a corner healing the entire fight. You can use your tactical at the same time as you're aiming and shooting, and you don't need to look directly at your teammate to shield them. As long as you're looking in the general direction, it should still give them the shield. Conduit's ultimate can be a bit difficult to get value with. I like to use it by blocking off doorways so enemies can't push you. Caustic. So with his gas traps, you need to be using them to block off doors. This is especially important when you're trying to lock down a building, and it's what puts Caustic's gas apart from Wattson's traps that can't block off doors. If you know enemies are pushing you, shoot your traps beforehand so they aren't destroyed. As with a non-activated trap, it can be shot out instantly by shooting at the bottom, but once it is activated, then it can't be broken unless they shoot a ton of bullets into it, and even after that, the gas will still be there for a little bit. If you need to run away from a downed enemy so you can heal, throw your ultimate on them or a gas trap so enemies can't revive without taking gas damage. On the other hand, if it's your teammate that gets knocked, you need to be following this next tip. Throw your ultimate or activate a gas trap in front of you before reviving. This will both mask the audio of the revive and create visual clutter to make it hard for enemies to see you. Now looking at Wattson, this next trick will make you look like a pro. That is placing a fence through a door. To do this, a node has to already be placed on the opposite side, and then when an enemy gets close up to the door, create a fence and it will stun them, damage them, and break the door so you can shoot them down. Unfortunately, you can't really block off a door with Wattson's fence, and enemies can walk straight through them if they really want to. So if you're holding a building, place your ultimate in front of a door to block it. This next tip is very specific and rare that you would use, but it could come in clutch if you run out of available nodes. You can actually use an enemy's Wattson node to build your own fences. Using Wattson's interceptor pylon as cover is really good and makes you quite difficult to hit. Did you know that with Rampart, you can create a one-way door? To do this, place your amped cover sideways close to the side of the door with the hinges, and now you have a door that only opens up one way. But if enemies are holding a door or playing in a building, you can use Sheila to shoot right through the door and quickly eliminate anyone behind it. If you don't have much ammo left in Sheila, place it down so you can start charging up your next ultimate. If you're trying to get an amped cover down but the enemies are constantly breaking it, place 2 down, front to back, and the one in front will tank the damage for the one behind it. On to Catalyst. Place your spikes sideways against the door. This will cause the spikes to go through the door so enemies can't kick it down without taking damage. It also works if enemies are hiding on a door trying to heal. Use your spikes as a visual clutter. I personally love to use them in windows and in these trucks on World's Edge. It makes you much harder to see and could be the difference between you living or dying. The Dark Veil ultimate is the only thing in the game that can block enemy scans. But there is so much more to know in Apex, which is why you need to watch this video of 101 Apex Legends tips and tricks to learn everything and become the best player possible. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.